We're talking to Frans Koopmans from The Hope in the Netherlands. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
We have recently read about the drug-related violence taking place in the south of the Netherlands, and obviously there was an emergency meeting or crisis meeting in Breda at the end of last week where mayors from 5 cities met to discuss the problem with your Minister of Justice, Mr. Opstelten. Do you know anything about this? What is actually going on in the south of the country?
Well, the southern part of the Netherlands has already for a long time been known as one of the regions where a lot of illegal cultivation of cannabis is taking place. And, well, it is exemplary, you might say, of the change in the way that people are dealing with cannabis, where it used to be something with a kind of romantic flavor, reminding one of the 60s. One now has to conclude that the cultivation of hemp plants is for the biggest part in the hands of the capital crime, of the heavy criminals.
Mm. And is this something very new, or has it been going on for a long time?
Well, it is not new. It has been known for quite some time. Already many years ago, there have been articles that made clear that, let's say, the contacts of Dutch coffee shops with illegal suppliers made clear that that the cultivation of the hemp plants is in the hands of criminals, and that by our condoning policy we are providing grounds to criminals to set up their illegal industry. Mm-hmm. So it is not something new. Only what is new is the violence that is connected with it. Mm-hmm. Let's say the more or less American situations that we are now confronted with in the Netherlands, and that is, in a sense, new.
Mm. Now, many people would propose then that if this trade, the cannabis trade, would be legalized, if it would be possible to buy, possess, and consume cannabis, it should be regulated and all this. What do you think about that? Is that a possible way forward, or what is the view on this if we look at your present government?
Well, we have to make clear at this moment that we are in a kind of in-between situation. We are conforming to the United Nations treaties formally, but in practice we are condoning activities that are forbidden. And that creates uncertainty, that creates an unclear situation. And in that sense, the question whether one should legalize or the other way around, one should much more focus on prohibition, is a question that is, I think, legitimate. Mm. As far as I'm concerned, legalization of drugs would be out of the question, because there are too many disadvantages connected with legalization. I must say that I think that those who advocate legalization are, in some respects, rather naive in thinking that the moment that we have legalized drugs, those who are in the business of drugs would refer themselves to go on and do some legitimate work. Those who deal in drugs, those who earn a lot of black money by selling drugs, etc., by cultivating hemp in this framework, are also dealing with all other kinds of illegal activities, as long as it earns them money. Mm. So it would be rather simplistic to think that legalization would solve the problem. In my opinion, it would definitely not. No. Not in the least, by the way, that by legalizing drugs, it would give the impression that drugs are substances that can be used in a rather riskless manner.
So what about the present government? When we read the newspapers and we listen to broadcasts, we get the impression that your new government is pretty restrictive when it comes to the cannabis trade and how to regulate the coffee shops. There has been discussions about introducing maybe membership for people to be able to buy cannabis in order to keep the foreigners away. Is there any substance to this, do you think?
Yes, there is substance to that, but I must say that a more restrictive approach in the Netherlands has already been going on quite some time. That is not something that has been taking place since this recent government. Already since the mid-90s of the previous century, we have seen that the policy in the Netherlands has become much more tough, much more restrictive, and this government and also the previous government have even put more effort into this. The present political parties that make up the government, the Christian Democrats, the Liberal Democrats, and the right-wing party that supports the government, they are all very much against drugs, against legalization of drugs, and are much more prone to a restrictive approach of the drug problem. So in that sense, yes, you're right. That doesn't mean that we would be leaving the basic principles of our Dutch drug policy, because that is not the case. But I do think that, for example, coffee shop owners are not having a good time now. They are really afraid that they will be hurt in their business profits.
So what do you think about the future then for the Dutch coffee shops? Will there be an end to it, or a decrease in the number of coffee shops? We got a figure about some 700 at the moment. What do you think will be the future?
I guess the future will be that probably the number of coffee shops will still go down much more. One of the ideas at this moment is that coffee shops should be reformed into closed clubs. That means that you can go to a coffee shop club, only when you are in the possession of a pass, a permit, that will allow you inside the shop. Also, that permit will only be given to those who are residents of the Netherlands. So for those who come from abroad, like from Germany or Belgium or France, they would not be able anymore to buy cannabis in the coffee shops. So that would mean a big change. And I guess that a lot of coffee shops will have to close down because they will not earn enough money. One of the other things that our present government intends to do is have a minimum distance between a coffee shop and a school. Well, they have put that on 350 meters. That is not much, but if they would really do this, it would mean that I think 75% of all the coffee shops in Amsterdam would have to close down. And at this moment, our Minister of Justice, Mr. Opstelten, definitely has the intention to go on in this direction.
So what is the reaction then from the coffee shop owners when they hear about all these proposals?
Well, they are angry. They say it's a policy that will not work. They are critical, for example, about the permit that people will need when they want to buy cannabis. They, for example, say that by doing that, the illegal weed trade will only increase. That you will get a lot of illegal dealing in the streets, etc., etc. They are not glad. That's the least you can say.
Well, Frans Koopmans from the Hope in the Netherlands, we probably will have a good reason to get back to you later when we will see what the development regarding this issue, what trail it will go along. So we will talk to you probably after the holidays again. We thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you.